Thackeray Martin is suing his neighbor, Nancy Morrell, for property damage after his car was vandalized.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2151, Martin versus Morrell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Martin, you and the defendant are neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been neighbors?
Moved into the subdivision in 2019.
That's how long you've been there?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how long the defendant has been there?
I think 2014.
Is that right?
2017, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
And where do you live in respect to one another? You want to go over there and show me?
I live in this house right here. Or I did. I don't anymore. This house right here. And she lives right here.
You sold your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the defendant
She lives right here.
where the blue car is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. This is sort of a circular area, and from the circular area, you pull into your driveway. Is that right? Okay. It is your claim that the defendant keyed your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And when did this happen?
January 22nd, 2022.
The defendant says that she did not key your car. She has a counterclaim. She claims that she was falsely arrested and held overnight in jail.
That is a lie.
But just a
Okay.
That's her claim, that she was falsely arrested, that she spent a night in jail. She had to hire a lawyer, did hire a lawyer after her lawyer requested several adjournments. You were not, at least physically, in the courtroom at the time of the last adjournment, and the case was dismissed. So let's go back to prior to January 22nd. I assume that if you're alleging that the defendant keyed your car, that you have some negative history with each other.
Yes, ma'am.
Starting when?
There are so many. I mean, it started out when we moved in the subdivision. They were nice at the beginning, no issues. And then the kids started having, her granddaughter lives with her.
Okay, how old's your granddaughter?
She's 9 now. She was 8.
Okay.
They started out having some issues, as kids do. I mean, you know, that happens.
You have a child of a similar age?
Yes, ma'am. She's 11 now. She was 9 or 10 when we lived there.
And the two children had an issue?
I mean, you know, kids argue.
No, I understand that. I'm not going into who was right and who was wrong in the kids' argument. I don't really care. But when did that argument between the two children spill over to the neighbors?
Well, I guess the final straw was Labor Day weekend of 21, the Sunday before the Labor Day. We came home late. It was about 7 o'clock. We were working, and we told Jillian we were going home for a little bit, and she said, I want to swim in the pool. I said, all right.
Jillian is your 10-year-old?
Yes, yes. And of course, she said, well, that's boring, Daddy. I want a friend to swim with me. So I said, okay, one friend. That's it, because your brother's going to watch you, and then we're leaving to go back to work. So she goes next door to Patrick's house, which is the next door neighbor, and she asked Patrick to come over and go swimming. He comes over. At the time, I didn't know this. At the time...
At the time, the defendant's granddaughter was there.
Yes.
At Patrick's house.
Yes.
Got it. So your daughter went over and invited Patrick to come and swim.
Right. And not...
You had told her that she could have one friend in the pool, so Patrick left to come swimming, leaving your granddaughter alone.
Well, she had to go home.
She had to go home.
Yes.
She came home.
So just a second.
Okay.
That's what happened. Okay. You had a grandchild who had hurt feelings. I assume
she actually went over to go swimming. She thought she was invited too.
You had a child with hurt feelings.
And I went to ask what had happened.
Okay.
That's this big hoopla.
Okay. Now, your grandchild comes home. I assume she was upset. Was she crying?
Yes.
Okay. And that was about what time?
In the evening. I honestly can't remember.
Okay. And when she came home crying, tell me what you did.
Went out and, honey, what's wrong?
What did you do?
Are you okay?
Yes, and she told you what happened.
She said, I went over to Jillian's. She invited us swimming. And when I got there, her dad said only one person could swim.
Okay.
So she came home.
Okay, and what did you do next?
That's not what happened.
I talked to her, calmed her down, and I went over and said, hey.
You know, just a second. You walked from your house, where the blue car is.
Yep, around the corner.
Did you take your granddaughter with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
She's lying.
And what? Shh. If you do that again, I'm just going to dismiss your case. Do you understand that? And you know, it's easy.
I got it.
This isn't my case. It's your case.
I know.
So you walked alone to his house. Did you knock at the door? Did you go outside? I want you to tell me exactly what you did.
I don't remember if I went to the front door, if I went to where the pool is, and I do believe Mr. Martin was out there.
Okay, so Mr. Martin was out there, and You said it in that kind of a calm tone?
What happened to my granddaughter? Why is she crying?
Well, she told you why she was crying when she was home. She told you she was crying because she went over there to swim, and Mr. Martin said you can only have one person swim with you.
Which is totally out of character. The children swim together all the time.
You mean at Mr. Martin's pool?
At Mr. Martin's pool, and if they need another adult.
Just a second.
I go.
So they swim all the time in Mr. Martin's pool, so you wanted to know what happened on this occasion when he said only one person can swim.
Yes.
And you said it in just the same kind of conversational tone that I'm talking in, is my question.
I was very calm at the beginning, yes.
Oh, okay. And so you said to him what happened, and what did he say to you?
I don't remember exactly. It was to the effect of his son was going to watch them, and he could only have one child in the pool.
Right, that he wanted his son to have responsibility of only watching one other child other than his sister.
Correct.
Right, well, that sounds reasonable.
And that's fine.
Just a second. So how did it escalate? He said, I only wanted one child in here. My son's going to watch the kids. We have to go back to work. And that should have been it. Why wasn't it?
I don't know.
So I walked back out and looked at the Pathfinder, and that's what I discovered, the scratch across the back. Bright white, so that indicates it's fresh. I told her while she was standing there, you're going to jail. I'm going to call the police.
Okay, now I'd like to see the video.
Zachary Martin claims his neighbor, Nancy Morrell, keyed his car and owes for the repairs. Nancy is countersuing for a false arrest and lawyer fees.
Now let's get to your version of what happened. Okay, so you said only one child. Her granddaughter went home. Her granddaughter, who's a little girl, is upset. Why can't I go swimming too? I got that. And?
This is a lie. Everything she told you is a lie.
Just a second.
She did not come to my house.
Just a second.
She did not come to my house.
If you say again it's a lie, I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I asked you what happened.
She did not come to my house.
Okay.
Her daughter came to my house.
Just a second. You mean her granddaughter's mother?
Yes. I never talked to her.
Before my daughter went over, I had gone over.
She did not.
Oh, no, just a second. Yeah. Now I don't believe you, Miss Morrell. Now I don't believe you, madam. I watched your eyes. I just watched it. Now, uncross your arms. So, her daughter came over first.
No,
Yes.
I
Well,
went
she
over.
never-
I don't want to hear you.
She never came over. The daughter came over. She bypassed my front door and went to the side gate where the pool is. She told my son to go get me.
To go get you.
To go get me. I came out and she called me a jerk. You should let her swim in the pool. Blah. I just told my daughter, look, you can have one friend because your brother's watching you. It's not fair for him now to watch 3 kids. Just 2, that's all. I told her, I said, look, I don't know what you're talking about. I said she could have one friend and that's it. She proceeded to call me a jerk. She said some other choice words I'm not going to repeat, in which case I did cuss her out and told her to get off my property and not to come back again, anybody in her family, or I would file trespass charges.
Okay, and that was on the Sunday before Labor Day?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did this incident happen with your car?
January 22nd.
After that incident on Labor Day weekend, did you have any other contact with the defendant?
Yes.
When?
So I think it was right after Jillian's birthday on November the 21st. I think it was like a week, like December the 1st, I think. And this is really sick, but it got to the situation where she would watch my kid. And every time my kid would go to Aubrey's house or Patrick's house, she would take toys, she would unpack her stuff. And I told her, I said, look, you can't play with her. So they would wait 10 or 15 minutes till she got unpacked and get all comfortable, having a good time. She would send her granddaughter over there. She had to pack her stuff up and come home. She would come home crying many times. So then it got to the point where Patrick, he would come over to our house. He'd be over to our house all the time. They would get on trampoline, play video games, blah, blah, blah. So I was doing something one day, and then the camera went off, and I give me a load of my iPad. Here comes Nancy up my driveway. She knocks on the door, and she says, can we play? And I said, no, you can't play. Get off of my property. File trespass charges if you come back. That was, the last time I interacted with her. Until she keyed the video.
Well, it's not my job to be judgmental in a social way, but I have to tell you, I would have handled it a little differently with her. She wasn't the one who behaved badly. I wouldn't visit her daughter's bad behavior on an 8-year-old. There are kids who live right around the corner from each other, and it seems to me that the bad behavior of a parent or a grandparent shouldn't impact on a child. The granddaughter is a nice little girl.
Well, I mean, if you say so. I mean...
Is she?
Well, she spread rumors about my daughter and said that, you know, she told Aubrey that my daughter stole some of her toys, and that was a lie.
Okay. All right. Well, it sort of started to get nasty. Now let's get back to the keying of the car. So that happened in January. So tell me about the January incident.
Okay, so she got up January 22nd. It's a Saturday. She decided to walk her dog. She's walked her dog.
Go over there. Show me what you saw.
Okay. So she decided to walk her dog, and so she walks up the sidewalk.
Well, you didn't see that.
No, not right here.
No, you didn't see that.
When she gets about right here, which is Patrick's house, the mailbox is right here, you can see in the video. That's when the cameras detect motion. That's when I get the alert. So I see her walking the dog, and she's walked her dog past my house many times, but never gotten that close to my vehicle. So immediately I thought something.
Where was your car?
My car is parked right here.
In the driveway?
Yes, ma'am. So she walks the dogs, and she is right beside the view. I mean, you can see in the video, you can see her right hand go up. So I immediately run out of the house. I have a truck parked right here. I looked at my truck. I thought maybe she did something to the truck. I looked at it, didn't see anything. I went back outside and I said, well, wait a minute, let me go back outside and look at the Pathfinder. So I walked back out and looked at the Pathfinder, and that's what I discovered, the scratch across the back. It's bright white, so that indicates it's fresh. I told her while she was standing there, you're going to jail, I'm gonna call the police.
Okay, step back. When you said to her, you're going to jail, I'm going to call the police, did she respond?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, now I'd like to see the video.
Okay. You can see as her hand goes up right there.
I'll take a look at it again. Is there any reason that you stopped behind his car? Is there any reason?
Stopped to sniff, I stopped with him.
You see her right hand right there.
I'm moving my arm as I walk.
Yes, and that's where the scratch is.
Okay, can I take a look at the photographs of the scratch, please? Okay, so based upon what you saw, you called the police. And based upon that, the police came, interviewed you, and viewed this tape.
Actually, I had contacted the police after he had yelled at me. He's a little incorrect. Could I show you where?
Sure.
I did walk my dog around here. His cars impede the sidewalk, so I moved. And I had completed my whole route over to about here, and he did indeed come out and yell at me. I caught a few words of it, said I'm walking my dog, waved my arms, and continued on. That's not the first time he has yelled at me as I've been walking, and I went home and I filed an incident report, and I do have that.
Just a second.
The second time I've been walking and he's come out and yelled at me, it's very unnerving.
That's a lie.
We're very far.
Sorry.
It's going to cost you getting your car fixed. It's something you don't understand.
I have it.
Something you don't understand. I'm allowing both of you to tell me your sides of the story. You can't say that's a lie. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not cutting you off. I let you tell me your story, sir. I let you tell me what happened, and I want to give the defendant the same opportunity. You can't interrupt her. Now you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? I will tell you what I don't understand, Miss Morell. You see, if I had got into a kerfuffle with him, which you had, because he said you and your granddaughter, which I actually think was socially wrong with regard to your granddaughter, but with regard to you, he doesn't want you there, right? I wouldn't walk up a cul-de-sac to go past his house. If it were me, I see plenty of space where you can walk. You can cross the street from your house and walk in the street the other way. And then when you come back, you can walk the other way. You don't have to go inside that cul-de-sac to walk anywhere near his house. That's looking for trouble.
Can I just say something?
About what?
The trend that another gentleman, he tried to accuse of scratching his car.
Are you her husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to let you stand up now, and you're going to show me where he accused somebody else of keying his car in the back in January. Show me.
Zachary Martin is accusing his neighbor, Nancy Morell, of keying his car. Nancy is countersuing for a false arrest and lawyer fees.
So you have a counterclaim, and your counterclaim is for false arrest. He didn't arrest you. The police arrested you. And the police arrested you based upon what they believed, after looking at that video, was probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to believe you participated in the commission of that crime, which is vandalism. He didn't make a citizen's arrest. The police made an arrest. And not only did they make an arrest, but they were serious enough to have you get a lawyer. Your counsel went in. I assume your new counsel asked for an adjournment. I assume your new counsel, you were there.
I believe so. I was not there, ma'am. I waited out in the hall, and my lawyer represented me.
Fine. So I assume that you knew that your lawyer was going to ask for an adjournment. The lawyer didn't prepare you for trial, did he?
No.
No.
Your Honor.
So he was. I'm not listening to you.
As a witness, can I just say something?
About what?
The trend that another gentleman, he tried to accuse of scratching his car. We have evidence of that.
Just a second. That I'll listen to in a minute.
Okay.
The second time your case was on, did you go into court or did you wait outside?
I waited outside.
Then if you waited outside, you knew again your lawyer was going to ask for an adjournment. The first time the case was on, did you attend the court hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you inside the court?
Yes, ma'am.
She was not there.
She was outside. Yes, ma'am.
The second time when the case was adjourned, were you in court?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she there?
Yes, ma'am.
Outside or inside?
She was outside.
Did her lawyer ask for an adjournment?
Continuance.
A continuance?
Yes, ma'am.
Same thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Did it happen more than twice?
Yes.
On the third time you went to court, did you go to court?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she in court?
Yes, ma'am.
Inside or outside?
She was outside, and what happened, I had sold the house, and we moved an hour away.
Just a second. You were there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I'm going to let you stand up now, and you're going to show me where he accused somebody else of keying his car in the back in January. Show me. No. Well, this says that on January 18th, which was 4 days before this incident, you reported another vandalism to a Nissan Titan.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the car that you saw her key or believe she keyed?
No, ma'am, that's a different vehicle.
That's what I thought. That's a different vehicle. That has nothing to do with this car.
Well, the gentleman that he accused it of, he didn't even have arrested or didn't want to press charges.
Just a second. Okay, so now I'm going to let you stand up, and I'm going to give you my end of the riot act, because if this is what you're deluding yourself with, I'm going to tell you. He didn't have video of anybody on the 18th around his car. In your wife's case, sir, he had prior experience with her. She had no business walking right in front of the house when there are plenty of other places to walk. If they are not on great terms, he had every right to call the police, show them the video, and they had every right to arrest her. Do you understand that?
I understand that, but
Good.
that doesn't
This has
prove
nothing.
that she scratched the vehicle. That doesn't prove that.
Just a second. That's what a trial is for, sir. That was up to a jury. What your wife is suing him for is for false arrest. He didn't arrest her. The police arrested her. Now sit. May I see the invoice? Have you had the car fixed?
Yes, ma'am. I have an estimate, and I also have the police report.
I'd like to see both. I'd like to see both. So the police officer indicated that after you were told about what the officer saw on the video, you've decided to make no more statements about the incident, and you were placed under arrest for malicious damage. The officer also reported that the scratch on the back of the car was fresh because there were fresh paint chips on the street that were red paint chips. There's a red car that came off that car, which demonstrates to the eyes of any layperson that since there's traffic back and forth there, if there are fresh scratches and fresh paint, it means it just happened. So your counterclaim for false arrest and anything attendant thereto is dismissed.
I did not do it, Your Honor.
Right, well, okay, maybe. The case was dismissed. That doesn't mean you're entitled to money from him. Police had probable cause to believe that a crime was committed and probable cause to believe that you committed that crime. The rest of it is up to a jury. So you have a beef with the police department, not with him. They had an absolute right to arrest you. I'm not giving you $2,500 for this scratch, sir. Get it out of your mind. Do you understand?
Why not?
It's not a $2,500 scratch.
I mean, that's an estimate from a
$500. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Well, she was incorrect because I did not do it.
You know, we took an oath when we went inside to tell the truth, and she lied repeatedly, and she got mad at me when I said that's a lie, but it was a lie.
That he saw me walking by and looked at the car and said, oh.
The next day I called the police to see what happened, and they informed me they arrested her.
I thought they were there because I had called about him harassing me, and then all of a sudden they just said, you scratched his car. And I said, no, I didn't.
I think she should have stayed in jail longer.
They placed me in custody.
The lady does nothing but lie. She's a liar.
It was horrible.
I actually thought his behavior when the defendant brought her granddaughter over subsequently and said, can't she play? Because evidently there are 2 or 3 kids who live close by and they always play together. All of a sudden, the granddaughter is excluded from that play. There's a certain amount, as a parent, he should have had some sense of that and said, well, of course they can play, but your daughter owes me an apology. You know, if you're behaving like an adult, your daughter owes me an apology. I tried to do a responsible thing. I didn't want to let my son watch more than one stranger child in a pool, which is absolutely smart because, God forbid, something happened to one of those children, they would certainly turn around and sue him.
Yeah.
So he did the responsible thing. Was it hurtful to the other child? Yes. According to him, his daughter was playing at Patrick's house. She came over and said, you can't come, because they're little children. They don't understand. You can't come. Only one person can come. But you're a grown-up. So understand how that could be hurtful to an 8-year-old. Anyway, I think that they both behaved badly, and he's very smart to have moved out of that.
Out of the cul-de-sac, out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, could you understand why she would walk her dog there?
Yeah, I agreed with you that if you've already had even just a hint of distaste with any of your neighbors, I just walk on the other side of the street, just avoid it. And this seems like a perfectly avoidable house in the cul-de-sac.
You actually have to
go into his loop in order to make the loop. So I don't know. I think both sides questionable, but I'm glad that he got something that you were willing to give him for his car.
Yeah, get your car fixed reasonably, and the police absolutely had a right to arrest her.
Yeah.
There was a complaint. They looked at the complaint. They saw the damage. They saw it was fresh. They saw her right there on the video. They had a history of bad feelings between them. They had an absolute right to arrest her.
Yeah.
Too bad. I feel sorry for the little girl.
Suing her ex-boyfriend, James Stewart, for travel costs and a loan.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2102, Peterson versus Stewart.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Peterson, you and Mr. Stewart met online.
Yes.
You met Mr. Stewart, and according to your complaint, a romance developed, and there are 2 things that you believe, now that the romance is over, that he owes you. One of them is a loan that you made to him for $1,000. Now, Mr. Stewart does not deny that you gave him $1,000, correct?
No, ma'am.
Your defense is that it was a gift.
Correct.
And not made as a loan. Okay. On what date did you and Miss Peterson start to date?
We never dated. We actually wasn't through no dating site. Just somehow, coincidence, we came through.
Did you see her?
I met her once in person.
When?
When she paid for a hotel for my birthday.
Give me the date.
January 30th.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
So you met for the first time in January of 2022. Tell me about the $1,000. If you're playing with your papers, you're not going to hear where we're going. Okay.
The $1,000 at that time, I was been struggling with heart disease, which I just got out the hospital for having a heart surgery last Friday. So financially, my dealership was a little bit under the burden. So I asked her if she would help me.
And when did you ask her? Was that in January?
No, ma'am. That's a couple months later.
All right. So that would be in March.
Yeah.
And the only time that you ever met her was in January.
I met her once, other than that, when she gave me the money. Other than that, it was just normally her texting me, how you doing? Do you want to meet up?
Okay. So you met personally twice.
Correct.
And after January, you didn't see each other personally, just by messages. And that's when you asked her for money. And you were going to tell me why in March you asked her for money. I understand that you just recently came out of the hospital, and while I'm happy to see you looking well and healthy, it's really irrelevant to this case.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so why did you ask her for $1,000?
Because she offered to help me.
No. Nobody offers to help you unless they know that you need help.
Well, it's in writing.
No. Nobody offers to help you unless you let them know that you need help.
I was kind of life coaching her. We both was going back and forth. We had an open line of communication, so I kind of got comfortable to ask. So I see what you're saying.
Got comfortable to ask?
She already gave me money before that 1,000. That's why I was comfortable.
Just a second. I'm talking about the loan.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to tell me, since you acknowledge that she gave you the money, tell me why you needed it.
Well, I needed it because I paid for the trip, which was $2,180, which she gave me $2,000 plus $160 more for luggage. Came to just shy of $2,400.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, she's already came to me and gave me money for us to take this little trip together.
What does that have to do with this $1,000? That's not what I'm talking about.
Because she was supposed to come and reimburse some of the money because I paid already into the trip. So I was asking her for money.
Am I crazy? Did he start to talk about his business needing money? He has a used car business?
Yes.
Really, before you come on a program like this, you should really watch so that you would know that one of my favorite sayings is, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory, especially if you're smart.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're not so smart, and within 3 minutes you tell 2 different stories, that, Mr. Stewart, is a phrase that you should learn to live by. If you tell the truth, you don't need a good memory.
That's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, that's only because you wouldn't know the truth, because you have been introduced to the truth.
He says, the $1,000 at that time, I was struggling with heart disease, which I just got out of the hospital for having a heart surgery last Friday. So actually, my dealership is a little bit under the burden, so I asked her if she would help me.
So you remember saying that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that's different from she was paying me back. You just have to acknowledge that's different. Okay. And let me tell you what you swore to in your answer. She offered to help me catch up on my child support.
On a phone conversation, yes.
I just asked you one simple question, sir. You acknowledged she gave you $1,000. What was it for? So now I have 3 reasons. 1, your car dealership was a little bit of a burden. 2, she was returning your money to you. And 3, you were catching up on your child support. Yes. Those are the 3 things that I have in front of me.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3?
Whichever one you would like, ma'am.
So far it's $1,000 for the plaintiff. Now, whether it was for school or whether it was for your children's support, she's not responsible for your children's support. You're responsible for your children's support. Have you ever met his children?
No.
She doesn't even know your children.
No.
Do you have a child support order?
No. She asked me to marry her, though.
Just a sec. I asked you a question,
yes,
not
ma'am.
her. Do you have children? The answer is
yes. I have children, yes, ma'am.
Yes. This is not a dance.
No, I'm just
This
saying.
is not a dance.
Yes, ma'am.
You lead, I lead, I always lead.
Yes, ma'am.
Later.
You had some trouble with your finances, and you had serious debt. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a credit collections agent.
Not a good thing when you're a credit collections agent.
Joy Peterson claims her ex-boyfriend, James Stewart, owes for travel costs and a loan.
Now, the children do not live with you.
They're above age. Yes, ma'am.
When you swore in your answer that you had gotten behind in your child support order, what child support order was that?
It's the last child because I got behind because I was out of work. So they're above age, but I owe a little arrears.
Okay, so that's the child support that you were behind. Had you been noticed to come to court on those arrears?
I've never been in contempt, no, ma'am. I've always kept a good standings with them.
Okay, but you're behind now.
Yes, ma'am.
You were behind then in March.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you knew you were behind because?
I was on bed rest for 5 months due to a knee surgery and some heart issues.
Okay, did you request that your child support order that was on arrears only be stayed while you weren't working?
I got a new caseworker who wasn't willing to work with me at that time. So.
Okay, so there was difficulty. Your caseworker was involved in this child support order. That sounds better. And the child support order was in favor of the state?
I don't owe the state no money. I paid all fees off with them. I just owe the back child support.
To the mother of the children?
Yes.
Okay, $1,000. Now, I'm going to come to you. According to you, you gave the defendant $2,000 to buy travel tickets for you.
Yes, Your Honor.
When?
I gave him money in March.
at the same time that you gave him the $1,000?
No, ma'am. That was in April.
Show me proof of that. And I want to see $2,000 taken out from someplace for him to pay for these tickets. And they were tickets for you to go from where you live, which is where?
Springfield, Ohio.
To Miami.
Yes, ma'am.
The $2,000 was in March. What were you going to do in March?
In March, I gave him the $2,000 to purchase tickets because I asked him, can you get discounts for us to go to Miami because I was going to have surgery. So he told me yes, sure. So I gave him the $2,000 for that.
That's not.
Then he said, well, that's going to be more than that. I said, well, that's all I have for the tickets for me and my daughters. He said he wanted to go, so he was planning on going.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, ma'am.
On what date did she give you the $2,000 to buy the tickets?
It was early March. She could.
Yeah, March, looks like March 25th. She gave you $2,000. And when were you supposed to go to Miami?
We were supposed to go July 4th, and she.
Okay, just a second. You're supposed to go in July. So you're talking about 4 months later.
Yeah, she canceled the trip.
Okay. When did she cancel the trip?
She canceled the trip about a month later.
So she canceled the trip in April?
Yeah, and it was a third party, so it's non-refundable.
I don't know that at all.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, just a second. So you're going to have to show me.
I didn't borrow it.
You borrowed the $1,000. I didn't say you borrowed this $2,000. She gave you money for a specific purpose.
Right, she went.
Don't speak. She gave you money for a specific purpose to purchase airline tickets.
For us.
Which you. I don't give a rat's behind for who. She gave you money to purchase.
As I did.
Airline tickets.
As I did.
This is not a dance.
No, I'm just
This
saying
is
I
not
did.
you lead, I lead, you. I always lead.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
I always lead.
Yes, ma'am.
She gave you $2,000 to buy tickets. That you acknowledge. The trip was canceled 3 months before the trip. Now, you say they were non-refundable tickets.
Yes, ma'am.
Show me. I just want to see where you tried to get either a refund or a credit 3 months. And don't speak. You have to show me, because you just said the tickets were non-refundable tickets, and I could neither get money back for them when she canceled it or a credit. And I said, in all that paperwork, show me.
It's just public knowledge on their website. I apologize, I do not have it.
It's not public knowledge on any website. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. $1,000 loan, $2,000 for the tickets. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
Well,
out!
This court is adjourned.
Out!
She wanted to go on a vacation.
Taking advantage of me.
She was being a little aggressive.
Don't even look that way.
Now, hopefully, we can just move on with our lives.
I think we should print that on cards to hand out to people as they leave here. If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
That defendant, in the first 15 seconds, told 3 different stories about the same $1,000. Reminded me of a toddler when you ask if they had cookies and it's all over their mouth and they say, no, I didn't have chocolate, I didn't have candy. 15 seconds, 3 different stories. So if you tell the truth,
you don't need a good memory.
Not at all.
Case 2158, Smith versus Crosley. All parties, please step forward.
Justin Smith is suing his ex-girlfriend, Jessica Crosley, for an unpaid loan.
Ms. Crosley, I'm going to start with you. You and Mr. Smith were in a romantic relationship for a period of time.
Yes.
From when to when?
I want to say it was about a year before my son was born. My son was born February 11th, 2019, and our relationship ended about 4 or 5 months after he was born.
And after you separated, according to what I read, you sort of remained friends.
Yes.
Great. You had some trouble with your finances, and you had serious debt. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a credit collections agent.
Not a good thing when you're a credit collections agent. And this was after you had already been separated for a long period of time. And at some point, what I'm piecing together is you discussed your financial circumstances with Mr. Smith.
Yes.
And one of your options was to seek protection in bankruptcy.
Correct.
And Mr. Smith thought that that was a bad idea.
Yes.
So he suggested that you take out a loan, consolidate all this debt, which was on, I assume, on credit cards with very high interest. And since he had credit, he would take out the loan and you would pay that loan off, which was manageable every month. Is that generally what this is about?
Yeah.
Yes.
His behavior had started getting irrational, scary, started calling me a lot, asking my whereabouts, texting me, driving by my house on several occasions I saw.
I'm still not understanding why you stopped paying on the loan.
Justin Smith claims his ex-girlfriend, Jessica Crosley, owes for an unpaid loan.
Mr. Smith did take out that loan, month and year.
March of 2022, this year.
What were the payments each month, starting in March or April, principal and interest?
He had told me that it was $500.
Told you they were $500. He took out that loan, and am I correct, Ms. Crosley, that you paid off your credit card debt?
Yes.
And you paid off your debt with the loan that he took out?
Yes.
And you did, in fact, create a situation where the money, because you were employed, would come out directly from your bank account to go to pay off the loan to his bank account?
Yes.
And you did that in what month?
That was started, I believe, at the end of April or beginning of May.
And how many such payments did you make?
Biweekly payments, I believe I made about 6.
Thereby acknowledging that this was a loan. At some point, you stopped making the payments. What month did you stop making the payments?
In July of this year.
Why?
So I had started seeing my current boyfriend.
This is not a social show. Just tell me why.
So I had to take a day off of work to file for an order of protection.
Why did you have to take a day off from work to file for an order of protection?
Because I was advised to by a police officer I spoke to.
Okay. And I assume against him?
Yes.
Okay. Give me the incident.
Okay. So in July, when I started seeing my current boyfriend, Justin had expressed that he wanted us to get back together. And I had told him, no, that was not going to happen. And then his behavior had started getting irrational, scary, started calling me a lot, asking my whereabouts, texting me, driving by my house on several occasions I saw. And then there was an incident on July 19th where I had allowed his mother to take my son to a play, and she was supposed to drop him off back to me. And instead of dropping him back off to me, she had dropped him off with his father at his work. And then I got a call from Justin yelling, saying, "Where are you? What are you doing right now?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm on my way back home. Your mom's supposed to drop off Braden." He's like, "I have Braden. I'll meet you at your house." So I said, okay. We got to outside my house, and then he pulled up next to me and then started screaming out of the car, like, "Where were you? What were you doing?" I was like, "I was spending time with Anthony, my boyfriend." And he's like, "I'm taking Braden. I'm not going to give him back to you." And my son's crying in the back seat. And I said, "No, you give him back to me. It is my day to have him." And he drove away. He later called me and said I could meet them at Dairy Queen. So I met them there. I got out of the car. I went up to my son. And as I was getting him in the car, Justin had walked up to my car and started yelling and swearing at me. And as me and my son started driving off, he threw a milkshake at my car, which scared me and my son very much.
Okay, good. And you filed for an order of protection. You had a trial on the order of protection, yes. And the judge dismissed your order of protection.
Yes.
After the trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm still not understanding why you stopped paying on the loan.
So when I had lost my job.
You lost your job when?
The next day. The incident happened on the 19th. I had to take the 20th off to file for the order of protection. The 21st, I was let go.
Oh, that had nothing to do with you being let go. Nothing. I just want to know why you stopped paying on the loan. You stopped paying on the loan because you lost your job? Are you working now?
Yes, I just started working.
Well, did you start paying him back?
No. So
why?
Also in July, when all these incidents happened, Justin had stopped paying for daycare, which was our agreed upon child support payment. We don't have a court order for child support, but he had been paying all of daycare. I cover all of his other finances.
So that was an agreement that you had, that he would pay for daycare?
Yes.
Okay. And he stopped paying in July?
Yes. He started only paying half of daycare.
Okay. So let's go back. He started paying for half?
Yes.
How much was he supposed to pay per month?
$560 was the full amount of daycare each month.
Okay. And he had been paying that. In July, he cut it down to?
To $270, I believe.
80.
Okay. So he wasn't completely not paying. He was paying part of it.
Correct.
Tell me why you cut the payments in half, because you have a counterclaim for that.
Yeah. So in July, we started a custody case for full custody of our son.
You're talking in July. Who started the custody case?
I did, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you retain a lawyer?
I did.
Is that case still ongoing?
It is.
Well, then I'm not entertaining anything about the daycare because you have that case in family court. The court there will make a determination as far as future child support and whether or not this daycare should have been paid. So you have no reason for not paying the loan.
I was planning on filing bankruptcy.
Okay, but you didn't. You didn't file for bankruptcy. You did the smart thing. How much is left on the loan?
It's in excess of $12,000 or $11,000.
What interest rate is on that loan, by the way?
36%, I believe. Current balance as of November 30th, $12,631.
How is a 30% loan better than her credit cards?
She had some loans in excess of 800%.
From whom?
Or over 500%. These were online lenders.
Oh, wow. Okay, you have a counterclaim. Harassment, daycare costs is out. Lost wages because you say you had to take a day off to file a protective order and you were fired? Nonsense. Harassment, let's hear it. And don't go back to anything that you told the judge during the hearing that you had where he dismissed your application for an order of protection.
Okay, well, the order of protection.
Okay,
that was...
They're just shh. Well, if that's the testimony, it's already been adjudicated. A judge, using the same measure of proof that I would use, dismissed your case. So I'm not relitigating that case. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I believe he was angry that I started a relationship with somebody.
I think the restraining order was part of her defense as to why she didn't want to pay me back anymore.
I was ready to file bankruptcy, and he had offered to take it out for me.
You know, at the end of the day, the loan is still agreed upon and still needs to be repaid.
I think that that's a good lesson, that you can't use the court systems and restraining orders to get out of a loan that you have really no excuse for not paying except for you lost your job. And I just think it's tricky. I think that a lot of defendants come in here and think that they can just say, I didn't have the money and so I don't have to pay it. But that's not the case.
What was most interesting to me is these 800% or 500% or 100% interest-bearing loans.
I know, it's something.
Where did that come from?
It's something I've seen recently in the past couple of years. It seems like every online shopping venue now has some form of loan payment or loan offering or sign up for our loan program. And I'd never seen that before. And if you don't read the fine print, you could get stuck in, just like the defendant here, with a lot of those.
Karen Heckendorf is suing her homebuyer, Dante Zarzosa, for an unlawful eviction, extortion, and emotional distress.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2156, Heckendorf versus Zarzosa.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Heckendorf, who is this gentleman?
This was an attorney I hired in Mexico, kind of in the middle of the night when...
He's an attorney?
In Mexico.
Okay.
And my witness.
Okay. So, trying to piece this complaint and answer together. You purchased a home from Mr. Zarzosa?
No, Your Honor.
He purchased a home from you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. He purchased a home from you in Mexico?
Yes.
Where in Mexico?
About 5 miles north of Rosarito, maybe 10 miles south of the border.
How long have you owned the home?
I owned the home about 5 years.
How much did you pay for it?
When I bought it was $180.
How much did Mr. Zarzosa pay for the house?
$245.
On what date did he purchase the house?
February the 9th.
Were you present at the closing of the house?
I was.
When you closed on the house on February 9th, how much money did you receive?
I was supposed to receive...
No. You were supposed to receive $245,000. How much did you receive?
I received a cashier's check for $15,000.
15?
$15,000. I received cash, $4,500, and I received the next day through a wire transfer 4.6 million pesos or something like that. I have the paperwork.
Just tell me what that translated to in dollars.
It was $220,500.
Okay. Well, if you have proof to how much the translation of pesos to dollars is, that means that you got a total so far without the down payment. Did he give you a down payment?
Yes, $5,000. I was paid for my house. I was paid for my house.
No, I understand that, but this is the problem. Mr. Zarzosa says that when he took out the mortgage, he increased the amount that he was borrowing so that he had closing costs covered. to the extent of, I think, $3,800 or $3,900?
It was a total of almost $10,000.
No.
Oh, $3,900.
That's what I asked you. What's 10,000? 10,000 comes out of nowhere. It was a difference, you said, of $3,900.
Yes, ma'am.
And so he wanted from you the difference.
Well, the realtor gave me...
Not the realtor. He wanted from you...
The realtor told me that. I've never really spoke to Dante except for on February 22nd and the time that he came and looked at my house. But the realtor sent me a fake statement, which I looked at because it's a high school kid's piece of paper, and I said I was not making a refund.
Okay, well, you have to make a refund if you were paid more for the house than you're bargained for with the purchaser.
That's true.
That's true.
And the bank told me on April 1st...
No, they can't tell you anything.
Oh, really?
If they documented something to you, then I'll read it. But you can't tell me what a bank told you. First of all, banks don't speak. Now, I'd like you to get what Mr. Zarzosa is handing me.
This is from the bank.
Well, I can't read this, but what I can't read is in Spanish, but I can read the numbers which indicate that you received, Ms. Heckendorf, a total of $249,544.22. Let me see.
May I see that, ma'am?
Absolutely.
Because this is what that bank gave me right here. And I did go with my witness to the bank on April 1st, and they told me that
the bank can't tell you anything.
They told me that was the correct amount.
A bank can't tell you. They can give you a document, which I will read, but a bank can't tell you anything.
This is not really a case about this contract.
Yeah, it is. It started this way.
They're saying that that bank sent me the wrong amount of money?
Yes. That's what it says. That's what that says.
That's what this says.
That's what that says.
I imagine anyone can write what they want, but I was not paid the wrong amount of money.
Well, the bottom line of it was, eventually you gave him back $2,800 of the $39,000 that he said that he was entitled to. Is that correct,
No.
Ms. Heckendorf?
No.
You never gave him $2,800?
I signed a contract and gave him $2,800 under duress. He took my dogs and my cat, and he took my property.
I want you to understand what I'm saying to you. When I ask you a question, I expect an answer. You gave him $2,800, and you gave him the $2,800 because he believed and told you that he had taken out extra money in order to cover his closing costs. And you got that money, and he wanted that money back because he was going to have to pay for it through his mortgage.
I have never heard that these were closing costs. This is the first I've heard about closing costs.
Well, I'm going to tell you this.
I'm going to
stop talking. Stop talking.
Okay.
And I'm keeping it very simple.
Okay.
You're going to want to keep it very complicated, and I, madam, are going to keep it very simple. So the bottom line is you stayed in the house for free.
Karen Heckendorf claims her homebuyer, Dante Zarzosa, extorted money by keeping her pets in property. Dante is countersuing for false accusations and lost wages.
Good. This is your piece of evidence. Your piece of evidence says that you got $249,544.22.
No.
That's what it says.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, that's what it says. You gave him $2,800. He wanted $3,900. You gave him $2,800. What you're suing him for
He also
is...
wanted $2,500.
I'm going to dismiss your case.
Okay.
It's just as easy for me to send you back to Mexico. Once you closed on this house, according to what I looked at, Ms. Heckendorf, you asked if you could stay in the house because your new house wasn't ready to close escrow. Is that correct? That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
And so you closed the house on February 9th, and he allowed you to stay in the house. When were you supposed to vacate the house?
March the 1st. I paid $2,000.
That's a date, March 1st. And between February 9th and March 1st, how much did you pay him in rent?
I gave him the money from the casita.
Just a second.
Yes.
That's an amount between February 9th and March 1st.
$2,370.
So that was a month's rent. Is that what you received?
No, Your Honor.
How much did she pay you in rent between February 9th and when she was supposed to vacate March 1st? She would have paid you rent in advance.
Nothing.
Show me proof that you paid him anything for rent on February 9th. Did you ever receive from this agent $2,370?
No, Your Honor.
Well, do you know who he is?
Yes, I do know. That's the realtor that represented both of us on the purchase.
And you never received, this was on February 9th. He acknowledges, he signed that he received $1,620 as in for the last month's rent and $750 security deposit, as well as prorated rent of $120. I don't know what prorated rent is for.
It was for the end of January. They moved in a few days before.
Who moved in?
The people that rented the casita.
And that's part of the house?
Yes.
What is that?
I have two houses on the property, the one I lived in and the casita. And Dante gave me an email that if I gave him this money from the casita, that I could live in the front house until March the 1st. I have that
Just a second. When he bought the house, did he or did he not buy the casita as well?
Yes, he did.
So he bought the casita as well. So it belonged to him. This rent belonged to him.
Only
So
if I
what do you mean?
rented
He's
it.
not giving you anything. If he buys a house and there's another property, he owns that property. He owns whatever rent was due for that property. So what you're saying is, let me cut to the chase. What you're saying is, you claim, he said to you, I've just paid you $250,000 for your house, which includes the casita. Your house isn't ready yet to close escrow. I will let you stay in the house free if you let me keep the money from the casita's rent.
Yes.
Oh,
And I have
fine.
an
So that the
email.
bottom line, don't speak, it doesn't look like you're losing so
And-
far. I may not be finished with you.
And
So
I hadn't rented
you're
the
speaking,
casita.
you're trying to speak over me.
Well,
And I'm keeping it very simple.
Okay.
You're going to want to keep it very complicated, and I, madam, are going to keep it very simple. So the bottom line is you stayed in the house for free from February 9th or 10th until it was supposed to be until March 1st. That was your understanding. You were staying in his house for free.
I didn't have to rent the casita.
I don't care whether you had to or whether you didn't have to. You were staying in your house that you sold to him for free until your new house was ready. That's a yes.
I felt that.
I don't
but
care
I
how
guess
you
if you
feel.
want to look at it
I
that
don't
way,
care how you feel.
Okay.
You sold him your property and you took advantage of a piece of that property, the casita, in order to negotiate yourself a free 3-week rent until your house is ready. Now, you may stand there and look at me in that smug way, but you and I both know that that was a deal you made for yourself.
Yes, I agreed.
Okay.
I agreed to rent the casita ahead of time before I moved out and give him the money so that I could stay in the property until my house closed escrow 1 week.
Pretty tricky.
May have been March the 6th.
Pretty tricky. Bottom line is you stayed in his house for free.
Okay.
And then what the rest of the case is about is that you claim that he changed the locks on the door before March 1st, and in the house you had your pets. And he held ransom your pets until you gave him what turned out to be $2,800. That's your complaint. He changed the locks on February 28th. Where were you when he changed the locks?
February 22nd.
22. Where were you when he changed the
I was
lock?
in my office in San Diego.
Okay. And how did you find out that the locks were changed on the door?
Dante sent me an email that I found later admitting to what he did, but
I asked you a question.
I was at my office, and he called me on the phone, and he said, this is Dante Zarzosa, and I have...
My way. Mm-hmm. He called you in the office. Mm-hmm. That's how you found out he changed the locks. Yes. That's an answer. Approximately what time did he call you in your office?
It was about 6:30, 6:45 in the evening.
6:30 p.m. Mm-hmm. And tell me what you claim he said to you and what you said to him.
This is Dante Zarzosa. I have your 2 dogs. You're never going to see them again if you don't pay me $3,900.
Now, that wasn't the first time you had heard about this $3,900. That was not the first time.
I heard about it on February the 9th. No, the 8th. Sorry, February the 8th, I'd heard about it.
And so you told him after that that you would, or you told him, or you told your lawyer, is that you? Now you can stand up.
I met him.
Shh, don't speak.
Okay.
On what date did you get your pets back?
Well, I didn't actually get them. My friends went and begged for the animals.
Don't tell me what they did.
They gave them to, and they gave them to my friends.
Stop it, please.
Sit.
Yep.
Karen Heckendorf has accused her homebuyer, Dante Zarzosa, of extortion by threatening her pets. Dante claims Karen owes him for making false accusations.
Your last name, sir, is?
Mena, Your Honor.
Mena. Mr. Mena, you're an attorney in Mexico?
Yes.
Okay. Are you a real estate attorney?
Yes, civil attorney, real estate as well.
You understand what this is about, and you understand if you're a real estate attorney that sometimes people take a mortgage that's beyond what they need in order to cover their closing costs. You understand that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's not an unusual thing. I bought and sold many homes. A lot of people do that. And when were you first made aware of the fact that the defendant was at least claiming that there was an amount that he had incurred debt on by way of a mortgage in excess of what your client in Mexico was supposed to receive in the amount of $3,900?
February the 22nd, something like that.
2/22. And when she came to your office, now we no longer have attorney-client privilege, sir, because she's brought you here as a witness, so you're going to testify to every conversation that you had.
Yes.
You understand that?
Absolutely.
Okay. She came to your office after she found out that the locks were changed.
Actually, I was at home. That was at night.
So when for the first time, sir, did you hear about this money that the defendant was claiming that he was owed?
Mr. Dante called me.
I want you to answer my question.
Yeah, yes.
My question is, when she called you the night of the 22nd at your home, did she tell you at that time or soon thereafter that there was a discrepancy that he was alleging with regard to the closing fees?
Not actually, no. No,
she didn't tell you anything. She told you that he just illegally evicted her and changed the locks.
Yes, and at the same time, because of some situations regarding a deal she has on the sale of the property.
Your client knew, as of February 8th, that the defendant was alleging that she owed him money from the closing costs. That's clear. That's what she told me. Mm-hmm. Now, they had clearly ongoing discussions about this from February 8th or 9th, when the deal closed and she got her money and she's living rent-free. So what I want to know, when did she share with you, not that there was an illegal eviction, not that her pets were in the house, when did she share with you that he was claiming that she owed him money? And I'm not excusing self-help. When did she tell you that? Because she knew it at the beginning. She knew it before she called you.
I have the communication from Mrs. Karen at the time we filed the complaint in the DA office, district attorney office. This is the time when she expressed me the whole facts.
Oh, so she didn't tell you the whole facts when she called you at home on the 22nd?
No, because she was very worried. She was concerned regarding the babies.
Don't tell me that. Okay.
That's it.
Now I got it. So I got what you're dealing with. I understand who I'm dealing with. Okay. On what date did you get your pets back, Miss Heckendorf?
The 22nd.
Okay. What time?
Well, I didn't actually get them. I got them the next day because my friends went and begged for the animals.
Don't tell me what they did.
They gave them to my friends.
Stop it, please.
Sit.
Yep.
I just asked you when you got your animals back. So you got your animals back on the same day as he changed the locks on the house. They were given to friends.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So they were returned to you the same day because if they were given to your friends at your direction, your friends were your agents.
Yes.
Good.
Only the dogs. He had my cat the next day.
Did you have a cat or was it an outside cat? Is it an outside cat?
Outside cat that lives indoors, and they put the doggy door down so the cat couldn't get out.
Okay.
He told me he had my cat.
Okay. When did you give him the $2,800?
About 5 o'clock on Wednesday, the 23rd.
Is there a writing of the exchange of that money? I'd like to see it. I can't read this.
The plaintiff has a translated version.
Can I see the translated copy, please?
I speak.
About what?
About that paper?
Yeah.
He was the one that drew it up. He could tell you, Your Honor.
No. I want this. Did you draw this up?
Can I see it?
Yeah, sure. Kevin, give it to him.
Thank you.
Did you draw that?
Yes, I participated.
What does it tell me?
It's translation.
Don't speak. Do you have the translation of this document?
Yes, I gave it to you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, number 5, very clear. This is the agreement that Mr. Zarzosa receives from Ms. Heckendorf $2,800 for concept of refund of pending payment. The previous amount is received fully. Therefore, the debt is liquidated. And number 6, the seller, Ms. Karen Heckendorf, grants the broadest waiver derived from the investigation file presented before the district attorney's office. I assume that that was your complaint, and with a file number filed against Mr. Zarzosa by not keeping any legal action present, past or future, derived from the present business.
This is the police report they're talking about.
I don't care what this says, is you've settled all of your disputes with each other. This says you've settled everything that had to be settled. Okay, but what the translation suggests is by this document, each of you understood that you were giving him money. He was not going to follow through with anything that had to do with the criminal complaint or with a criminal complaint against him. You went your own merry way. Am I crazy, or is that what this document says, sir? You are the lawyer.
Yes, it says so.
That's what it says so. So I want to know why you're all here bothering me. You settled everything. You got back your stuff. You got out of your house. You got your personal property. He has a counterclaim for false accusations and loss of wages as a result of whatever. This document says you've resolved everything with each other. So why are you here?
I did not sign that document under usual circumstances. I hadn't had any sleep, and I was coerced. And he said he was going to burn my furniture or he was going to sell it in the year that it would take me to prosecute him under this Mexican contract.
Put it down, sir. The case is over.
If he wanted to
The case
sue
is
me,
over. You're a pretty savvy lady, madam. You had an attorney that you consulted. He was there when this document was signed.
He wasn't on the real estate deal.
He was here when this...
only on this
Goodbye.
deal
We're
in the
done.
middle of the
Case is
night.
dismissed. So is your counterclaim.
This
Bye.
court is adjourned.
this was really a case about Dante taking my animals for hostage and extortion.
I didn't steal anything.
The only reason I agreed to give him $2,800 was because he said he was going to burn or sell my furniture.
I'm going to enjoy my house. Thank you, Karen.
That lady was never intimidated into anything.
I don't think so either.
She knew she had gotten an extra few bucks at the closing. She knew that she was really living there rent-free, which is really very nice. You buy a property, letting her stay there for almost a month. I have little sympathy for him because he resorted to self-help, went to the house, even though he knew she was still there, and changed the locks. But that document clearly indicated that both parties at some point said, okay, enough. I'm getting out of the house. I'm getting my belongings. My pets are back. Here's your money, and finished. Well, when you make a settlement, you've made a settlement. You don't get to make one settlement in Mexico and another one in California.
Agreed.
That's not the...
Is suing motorist Micaiah Bigham for property damage to his house from a car accident.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2157, Davis versus Bigham.
Miss Bigham.
Yes, ma'am.
You hit Mr. Davis's house.
This is wall, retaining wall.
Wall.
Yes, ma'am.
You hit his wall.
Yes, ma'am.
With your car.
Yes, ma'am.
It damaged his wall. His wall didn't move. His wall didn't come up on you. And you were at home at the time.
No, ma'am, I was actually away.
Okay, so you didn't see what happened.
Did not visually witness the incident.
Okay.
Just the damage after.
Who did?
There were several neighbors. One of my neighbors called me.
You have no witnesses here today.
I do not have any witnesses with me today. They could not.
Do you have a police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Thank you. Accident happened on September 22nd. Whose car were you driving?
It was my car. My dad bought it for me.
When?
Last year.
What kind of car is it?
2012 Nissan Altima.
You have insurance on the car?
I have insurance.
Did you have insurance, and you're going to tell me with whom, because that you can check, on September 22nd of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
With whom?
Direct.
Okay, let me see that you had insurance. Do you have proof that you had insurance on the car?
Well, I have the policy.
Were you current on payments for the policy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you had insurance. I'm just wondering why your insurance didn't cover this accident. No. What time did you hit his wall on the 22nd?
It was around 4:30, 4:45-ish.
In the afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you going?
I was on the way to pick up my uncle to go to my son's football game.
Okay, so Miss Bingham, tell me what happened.
I was getting off the interstate. I turned right. I was coming up to the light. As I was going to the light, I never seen the car.
Go to the chart and explain it to me.
Okay, so this is 28th. I got up the interstate. This is me driving straight to the light. As I was going straight, just how it happened, a car comes out from over here, Haley Park. It hits me. It caused me to go left, but I was in this lane. I was in this lane. It was going to cause me to go left and hit the cars in these lanes. So I turned right, and I ended up in his yard to avoid a collision.
Do you have photographs of the rear damage to your car?
It's right here, but you can't see. I guess they cropped out most of it.
I want to see the damage to the right
If I may.
driver's side. Yes.
I have some photos that might be helpful.
I'd like to see them.
These are the car, and these are other damages as well.
So it appears that someone hit her car on the driver's rear panel.
Yes, ma'am.
And took off.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Do you own this home, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And there's no question that you swerved in and damaged his property?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you try to contact her insurance company?
I did.
You went home, you were called, came from wherever you were from work, you came home, you took a look at it. Car was still there when you got home?
No, ma'am. The car was removed. My neighbor was able to put me on the phone with Makia and the police officer, so I was able to get that information. Immediately, when returning home, I reached out to submit the photos that I had taken myself and submit the police report after obtaining it. It took, quite a considerable amount of time to get back with me. But when I reached out again to understand the status, they said that she's not liable and they were not going to stand behind it.
Can I see what they sent to you? Did they send something to you?
They did send a letter.
I'd like to see it.
I do not have that letter with me, but I actually called to speak with them.
You said they sent you a letter.
Yes, ma'am.
And where is it?
I don't have the letter. It was a denial letter.
That said it was not her fault.
It did not say it was her fault, but they said they could not submit the claim due to, I guess, whatever insurance she had, whatever coverage she had, the amount of coverage.
Oh, no, that's a different story. You see, that's why I need the letter.
Okay.
Either they said that they're denying the claim because it wasn't her fault, or they denied the claim because she had no insurance to cover it.
The letter also indicated, of course, reaching out to the company to speak and discuss it further. So when I did reach out to the point of contact on the letter to understand why they weren't covering it, the amount of coverage that she had did not cover, I guess, property damage. And that was an argument between me and the company. And
well, how much did it cover?
They did not specify.
Oh, well, that's...
They simply denied it and pushed it away and actually hung up on me. So there's no denying the car's there, right?
Yes.
No denying the accident.
No, I do understand you. Do you have homeowner's insurance?
I do have homeowner's insurance.
Did you put it in through your homeowner's insurance?
Consulted homeowner's insurance, and they suggested that I work this out, me personally, instead of taking the hit on my homeowner's insurance as a victim of this accident. So I didn't see that necessary.
Well, Mr. Davis, I sort of disagree with you, sir. And usually that's not the position I take. But if I am to believe Miss Bingham, and based upon the evidence that you presented to me, it clearly demonstrates that she was hit. Her vehicle was a victim of a hit and run. Her vehicle was hit, which caused this accident. There is no indication anywhere in the police reports that she was speeding, that she went through a light.
Based on her own testimony, she swerved in my direction to avoid hitting other cars.
Well, wouldn't that be smart? If her insurance didn't cover it, your homeowners will cover it.
My homeowners covers that, and that's a penalty for me, and I'm a victim here.
So is she.
Crossed over.
Just a second. So is she. She can't find the other driver. I mean, it would be different.
That's her responsibility.
No, sir.
And later today.
We would like the 2 kayaks back.
Correct.
And when did you begin storing them at the defendant's?
I brought them over the next day after I bought them.
Okay, you acknowledge the fact that the plaintiff, who was then your friend, brought them over for you to store. You're not friends anymore. She wants them back. Why not?
Jimmy Davis claims motorist Micaiah Bigham owes for damage to his house after Micaiah crashed into his yard.
That sounds smart. She didn't want to hit oncoming traffic coming from the other direction.
It was not oncoming traffic. She was in the same lane with the traffic.
If I am to believe her, and your evidence showing that her car was hit in the rear on the driver's side, so I have no reason to doubt her. There was no issue of drugs or alcohol involved. You weren't issued a citation, I assume?
No, ma'am.
No. Then if her insurance didn't cover it, your homeowners will cover it.
Sure.
And you should go through your homeowners.
My homeowners and covers that, and that's a penalty for me, and I'm a victim here.
So is she.
Crossed over.
Just a second. So is she.
I understand.
If I am to believe her, and I believe her, so is she.
I understand.
So what I think you have to do is go through your homeowners, not Miss Bingham. She can't find the other driver. I mean, it would be different.
That's her responsibility.
No, sir. She is a victim of a hit and run. She has no way, unless it comes out of her pocket, of compensating you. She has no way, unless it's out of her pocket, of compensating you. She has insurance. You have no evidence to give me today as to why her insurance made a decision that they weren't responsible. You don't have that with you today, and it could very well be, as her insurance company determined, that this accident, while tragic, was not her fault. She was, in fact, a victim of a hit and run. You were a byproduct of that. So I'm telling you, go to your homeowners.
Well, let me understand correctly here.
What I'm telling you is, use your homeowners. That's what I would do.
That's you. I mean, that's a lot of other people would have a different decision. A lot of other people would bring it to small claims court and try to dispute that, and that's what.
Well, that's what you're doing, and I'm telling you that you should use your homeowner's insurance because that's what it's for.
Typically, with car insurance, there's property coverage.
You don't have, sir. I'm not accepting your hearsay. You have to prove your case to me. You see, that's your burden. You have to prove your case. I have now made a decision that the accident was not caused by her. She was not
caused by her deciding to swerve into my property.
Are you trying to talk over me?
Just adding a little extra context to it.
It was not caused by substance abuse. It was not caused by speeding. There was no violation given to her. And according to you, she had insurance. So it's up to you to show me why
her insurance
no, not her policy, why you were told her insurance didn't cover it. You don't have that here. In the event that you give me a letter and the letter said she has liability for a certain amount, but it's not the $5,000 that you're alleging that it will cost to redo this. She only had $2,500. Well, then I would say to you, her insurance should kick in the $2,500, and I'm going to give you the other $2,500. You shouldn't be out of pocket. I would do that if she determines to underinsure her liability so that she pays less in insurance, then that's on her.
The insurance company wouldn't disclose all of that to me.
They sent you a letter, and you don't have it.
A denial letter, and
no,
reach out to them
that's what you're telling me. That's hearsay, sir.
Okay.
That's hearsay. It's not hearsay if you bring it in to show it to me.
Understood.
So what I'm telling you is this is an incident where, in my judgment, you have two innocent people who were both victims of an irresponsible driver. And if her insurance company, for some reason, and I don't know what it is, that's for her to take up with her insurance company. I don't know whether she's underinsured or whether they determined, after looking at the same things that I determined, that the accident wasn't her fault. So you can't tell me what they wrote because you didn't bring that letter, and we're talking about something that you got a month ago.
Understood.
Okay, good. Then you go through go through your homeowners because your case is dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
The defendant says she chose to drive into my house instead of hitting another car. Both are equally as dangerous, and that cost me.
I didn't want to hit 5 or 6 other cars. So I just did what I thought was best.
You know, I found out because it's a very public street. Many people know that community, so people reached out.
It was just everything happened so fast. I can't explain the image. It was just like, I'm stuck. You know, my car just got stuck, and I was just like, hey, I'm just glad I didn't hurt anybody else.
Because they saw that it was a very horrible accident.
That's all. I was happy I was still here. Not the car, not the house, me. I'm glad I'm still here to go home my son.
No, the plaintiff really hurt himself with those photos of the defendant's car, and he didn't even notice. I don't think he even notices still. But she had no proof in front of her, no papers, no photos of what her car looked like, so she would have no way of showing that the accident was not her fault. But he proved that the accident was not her fault based on the photos of the car and just the situation in which her car got hit. But that's the reason that people have insurance. So I agreed with your sentiment about use it. That's its entire purpose. And I think that if he would have come in here and said, okay, I will put it through insurance, but I have a $5,000 deductible, I felt like you might have been more inclined to give him a portion of that, since neither of them were really at fault. They were both victims of a hit and run. But I would have respected that more if he had chosen to use his own homeowner's insurance as opposed to going after another victim. She wasn't at fault, and he knew that.
She really wasn't at fault. Yeah. She really wasn't at fault. And as we discussed a moment ago, the suggestion that she should have gone into to the left where there was an oncoming traffic rather than veering to the right and hit something that was a stationary object.
It was definitely the safer option. And in that second moment, she was lucky that she made that decision. You never know. Someone else could have lost their life.
Right.
Case 2153, Fawless versus Mixedbot. All parties, please step forward.
Elizabeth Fawless is suing her former friend, Christy Masenbach, for 2 kayaks and an assault.
Miss Fawless, it is your claim you and the defendant were friends, been friends for a while.
Yes.
Your allegations are twofold. First, you say that the defendant assaulted you after a party.
Yes.
You weren't injured as a result of that assault. You didn't seek medical attention, but you said you had some scratches and that she hit you.
Yes.
Okay.
So she was on top of me. I was scratching, hitting, pulling, trying to just get away. I don't think she really remembers everything, and it just happened so fast. But I was finally able to leave and get out the home with my daughter safely.
Okay, bad behavior.
Okay, great.
Bad behavior?
Elizabeth Fawless claims her former friend, Christy Masenbach, owes for 2 kayaks and an assault.
There was no medical treatment. There was some drinking that went on that night.
Yes.
But the thrust of your complaint is that you gave the defendant 2 kayaks that you had purchased.
Correct.
Because the defendant has a piece of property and you didn't have a place to store them, and you asked if you could store them at the defendant's home.
Correct.
She said yes. You're no longer friends after this kerfuffle that took place after a party, and you would like the 2 kayaks back.
Correct.
When did you purchase them?
I bought them on April 29, 2020.
From whom?
This lady and her mother were selling them on Facebook Marketplace. They were moving out of state, and her mom couldn't take them with her. So I have the messages of those 2, but I bought them on Facebook.
And how much did you pay?
$320, or $350, sorry.
For both of them or each?
For both of them.
And when did you begin storing them at the defendant's?
I brought them over the next day after I bought them because I live in an upstairs apartment. I had nowhere to keep them. So she has a house that she lives in, so it was a better situation for them.
Where are you living now?
I still live in an upstairs apartment.
Where are you going to put the kayaks?
I was planning on storage or maybe find a family member who has a home to take them to. But to basically probably buy a storage.
That's pretty expensive to keep them in storage. If you paid $350 for the 2 of them 2 years ago. Have you used them in 2 years?
I bought them this year, this April 2022.
Oh, 2022.
Sorry, yeah, 22.
Okay. Have you used them?
Yeah, I use them often with my daughter. She's 5 and autistic.
Have you used them with the defendant?
No.
Have you used the kayaks?
Personally, I have not yet. I haven't had the chance to.
Just to say, you have not?
I have not yet, no.
Okay, you acknowledge the fact that the plaintiff, who was then your friend, brought them over for you to store. You're not friends anymore. She wants them back. Why not?
So I would like to kind of go back to the beginning where like the assault happens, just so that you can kind of understand.
I'll get to this.
Okay.
The assault is not the important part of this case.
Okay. So the kayaks, originally, it was a deal that if I was to keep them at my house, that we could both use them. When she wanted them back, I just didn't necessarily feel like that was fair because the original agreement was that They were kind of almost both ours. I just didn't have the opportunity to use them yet.
Okay. All right, well, now you're not friends anymore. Now she wants them back. So she's going to pick up the kayaks within 5 days. If you don't pick them up within 5 days, you're out of luck. Do you understand?
I understand.
Okay, good. So within 5 days from today's date, we'll prepare an order. You can pick up the kayaks. Now, you want to proceed with the assault part of your case?
Yes.
Okay. Show me pictures of what the injuries were that you sustained.
I don't have any photos. I had a different phone at the time. And
Just a second, so you don't have any photos. Do you have any medical reports?
I don't.
Okay. This alleged assault happened on what date?
It was August 17th, 2022.
Were you both out that night, or were you having a party in a house?
So what happened was her girlfriend had cheated on her and they broke up, and she invited me and a couple other friends to the home where we were there. My daughter was also there, where we were hanging out, we were talking, trying to have a good time because she was having such a bad time. And I ended up falling asleep at some point. I went to go sleep with my daughter in the room. Everybody had left maybe around 12 a.m. and she came into the room wanting to talk, wanting someone to be there with her. But I was asleep. I'm not a very happy person to be woken up to. So I told her no, like we'll talk in the morning. She wasn't okay with that. She started getting mad, so she started getting upset, and my daughter was next to me, so I was like, well, then I'm gonna leave. And so I tried to walk out. She grabbed me, she threw me to the ground. She's stronger than me, so she was on top of me. I was just scratching, hitting, pulling, trying to just get away. My daughter was screaming and crying. She's autistic, so she doesn't really understand what was going on, but she was highly upset. She was screaming no. And I was eventually able to like get up and try to leave. She followed me to the garage. I just tried to push and try to just get away from her, but I don't think she really remembers everything, and it just happened so fast. But I was finally able to leave and get out the home with my daughter safely.
Okay, good. Okay, bad behavior. Bad behavior.
I agree.
Bad behavior? Okay. I wish I had a photograph. Okay, within 5 days, pick up your kayaks. Are we done here?
Can I explain my end or no?
What?
Can I explain my end or no?
You did explain your end. You said you didn't think it was fair when she wanted her kayaks back because we were going to use them together. But now you're not going to use them together because you don't like each other anymore. So you're not going to use them together, so she's going to get them back.
Alrighty.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
There was a lot more to the story than happened, but unfortunately, I guess the best outcome would be just to go ahead and give her back her kayak. So
It shouldn't have gone to this point. I should have got him back after the incident. For adults, it should have went way smoother.
There was a lot more insult that happened, like on both ends. It wasn't necessarily the whole full truth.
I think she's just going through a lot with whatever she's going on with her ex, and just I feel like it just got taken out on me.
Because we were like sisters before, and things just kind of, go south, and unfortunately, we lost our friendship over that. So
we've been friends since middle school, so I don't know what the future holds, but I hope maybe one day we can talk and we can work things out.
Only time will tell.
I think probably the only thing that bothered me in that case was
तमाम स्टूडेंट, क्या हाल है? उम्मीद करता हूँ मेरे अच्छे होंगे, सब ठीक ठाक होंगे। तो फ्रेंड्स, आज हम बात करेंगे व्हाट इज़ टेलीग्राम। ये टेलीग्राम बेसिकली क्या होता है और इस पर जो बात होता है वो किस बारे में, किस मुताल्लिक होता है, क्योंकि अक्सर लोगों को ये पेशाखान रहती है, सोच जा रही है कि आखिर टेलीग्राम है क्या। और ये टेलीग्राम बेसिकली तकरीबन 176 कंट्री में अवेलेबल है, बाकी में बैन है, और हमारा पाकिस्तान में से एक है जो बैन है। तो टेलीग्राम इज़ अ कम्युनिकेशन बिटवीन टू यूज़र सच एज व्हाट्सएप, फेसबुक, जैसे उस पर हम रब्ता करते हैं एक दूसरे से, वही एक टेलीग्राम ज़रिया है रब्ते का। और आजकल टेलीग्राम में बेसिकली बिज़नेस की तरफ रुझान दिया और इस पर ज़्यादातर लोग बिज़नेस कर रहे हैं। वो बेसिकली बिज़नेस किस तरह से करते हैं, वो तकरीबन मतलब एक फ़र्ज़ किया एक अकाउंट मैनेजर है, जैसे अकाउंट एक ट्रेडिंग का समझ लें कि लोग MT4 MT5 पे ट्रेडिंग करते हैं, अकाउंट मैनेजर जो होते हैं तो उनको स्किल्स होती हैं उनके पास, वो ट्रेडिंग करते हैं, ट्रेडिंग के ज़रिए वो अर्न करते हैं। बेसिकली जो दूसरी कंट्री के लोग होते हैं, नाइजीरिया, इंग्लैंड, USA, साउथ अफ्रीका, इंडिया, तो इनको बेसिकली इस चीज़ का पता नहीं होता, इस चीज़ ट्रेडिंग का। वो अकाउंट हैंडल कर लेते हैं, अकाउंट में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, लेकिन उनको बेसिकली ट्रेडिंग का पता नहीं होता कि वो ट्रेडिंग की कैसे जाती है, उस पर प्रॉफिट कैसे कमाया जाता है। तो आपको पता है कि हमारे पाकिस्तान इसमें जुगाड़ी है, तो वो बज़ाहिर इनसे रब्ता करते हैं अकाउंट मैनेजर के ज़रिए कि हम आपको अपना अकाउंट देंगे, आप इस पर जो प्रॉफिट अर्न करेंगे उसका हम आपको 50 देंगे, 50 इस तरफ देंगे। तो ये कहते हैं ठीक है, अगर लॉस हो गया तो बस ख़त्म। तो बेसिकली ये जो प्रमोटर होते हैं, प्रमोशन करते हैं, तो ये प्रमोटर जो होते हैं ये उन्हीं इन्वेस्टर्स को, दूसरी कंट्री के बंदों को, इनके बेसिकली जो चैनल बनाए हुए होते हैं, ग्रुप बनाए हुए होते हैं कि अपनी पोस्टिंग जाहिर करते हैं कि हमारा ये आज का प्रॉफिट है, आज की ये न्यूज़ ये है कि अप जाएगी, डाउन जाएगी, जो बेसिकली इनका काम होता है। तो ये उनको उस ग्रुप में शेयर करते हैं। तो प्रमोटर जो प्रमोशन का जो वर्क होता है, उनका बेसिकली वर्क यही होता है कि वो उन बंदों को उठा के इनके ग्रुप में डालते हैं या इनके चैनल में डालते हैं, उन इन्वेस्टर्स को, और वो इनका काम देखते हैं। हर एक के पास मुख्तलिफ चैनल्स होते हैं, वो काम देख के इनको बताते हैं कि हमने आपके मतलब के साथ चलना है या नहीं चलना, डिसाइड करते हैं। तो बेसिकली प्रमोटर की यूँ अर्निंग हो गई कि वो उनको ऐड करके देता है, मुख्तलिफ मतलब 100 मेंबर्स के हिसाब से वो उनसे पेमेंट लेता है। और उनका एक फ़ायदा ये हो गया कि वो उनको ट्रेडिंग करने के लिए जो है वो इन्वेस्टमेंट मिल जाती है दूसरी कंट्री से, और दूसरी कंट्री के लोगों को ये फ़ायदा हो गया कि वो जो अपने पैसे खर्च करते हैं तो वो उनको सही मतलब एक अकाउंट मैनेजर मिल गया जो उनको प्रॉफिट दे, प्रॉफिट अर्न करके दे, 50-50 करें। तो इन तीनों में से एक कम्युनिकेशन हो गया जो मतलब एक बेसिकली अब सोचने की बात ये है कि अगर प्रमोटर डायरेक्ट भी उनसे रब्ता कर सकते हैं, उनके साथ संपर्क कर सकते हैं, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं होता क्योंकि वो जो अकाउंट अपना हैंडल करवाते हैं बाहर अदर कंट्रीज़ के, वो उनका काम बेसिकली देखते हैं, उनसे पता करते हैं, तो वो इस हवाले से वो उनके साथ इन्वेस्ट नहीं कर सकते। तो बेसिकली यही इनकी स्ट्रैटेजी होती है, ये कि कम्युनिकेशन होता है। तो टेलीग्राम बेसिकली आजकल जो बेसिक यूज़ हो रहा है वो इसी हवाले से हो रहा है। बाकी इस पर कई बिजनेसेस चल रहे हैं, जैसे जो होते हैं फॉलोअर्स वगैरह, हर चीज़ इस पर सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड की जा रही हैं। एक व्हाट्सएप की दूसरे जो कॉपी है ना, ये टेलीग्राम है। तो आज ही टेलीग्राम के बारे में नेक्स्ट इंशाल्लाह आपको एक ऑनलाइन अर्निंग ऐप के बारे में बताएंगे, जहाँ से आप